Thank you so much for speaking to me. I know you've been very busy because you've got your album that you're recording at the moment. Are you recording or is it
Well,
done?
I basically the album was recorded in the beginning of 21 in February and March, but I've worked a lot on it since then. I've worked on the show since then. I've added
Mhm.
some extra material, and so basically I'm revisiting a lot of the earlier tracks because the album was written and recorded consecutively or chronologically over the space of 8 weeks. So
Oh, right.
every vocal, I mean, each song as it finished set the mood for what I was going to write as the next song. And this was kind of my, the idea I'm going to do a concept album. So there are no rules, right? It's not like, well, you've got to do 3 hit singles first and then you've got to have a ballad. No, I'm just going to write the music as my instinct, as my gut, as the mood dictates. So
Nice.
I didn't have all the songs before I started recording. I recorded the first one and then thought, where do I want to take this next? So all of the vocals were pretty much, first take, second take vocals. Some of
Mhm.
them I've sung now for, well, the whole album I've done live more than 50 times. So I've sing them slightly differently. So I'm revisiting the album, adding some extra stuff that I've developed since I first recorded it, and then we'll be releasing it sometime in 24.
Okay, well that's good. It sounds like a very relaxed album. If you're just sort of like thinking how has that last song left me and then carried on from there. I like the sound of that. It's I think it's going to sound well put together and it's
Thank
going to
you.
flow nicely.
Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing for me as a creative is it's almost I'm opening the top of my head for um divine guidance, for the want of a better word, or what's the word? Stream of consciousness to
Mhm.
come flowing through, and even I don't know where we're going to go next till we've got there. So the album was a bit of an adventure for me, and obviously as it's going along, I'm kind of guiding it a little bit, thinking, okay, although there is no story to it per se, there is a
Mhm.
sense of narrative as you watch and listen, watch the show and listen to the songs, because it takes an emotional journey that makes us feel things. So by the time I've got to the end of writing it and finished the last song, I was so excited to start doing it live, because I thought if I release it now, nobody knows about it. It's too early. I don't have a massive marketing budget behind me. I'm an independent artist these
Mhm.
days. So what I will do is I'll try and build awareness through the live music, the live performance, old school,
Yeah.
right? Just going
Yeah.
out and playing it to people, and also getting sense of feedback from it, which was I didn't have in the studio. But the feedback has been incredible. They're so positive, and my journey and my stories and my songs are also not only fulfilling my need to say something, but actually seem to have a touch point for many people who have seen and heard the music.
Oh, that's good. 'Cause I know you did some gigs in London in the last couple of weeks, haven't you? Is that when you were playing your new songs?
Well, basically what happened was, as I was writing the album, as I finished each song, I also knew that it had to be a show, right? Because it's quite big and theatrical, and it's channeling all of my favorite things from when I was 13 years old.
Mm.
Ziggy Stardust and
Oh
Genesis
yeah.
and Pink Floyd, and the psychedelic side of the Beatles, and Alice Cooper, and
Oh,
all that kind of very, some of it glam, but very theatrical in a way that artists aren't quite that way anymore, because that was the 70s and we didn't have much money, and so there wasn't big productions, but there was lots of costume changes and theatricality in the performance, right?
yeah.
So I'm channeling a lot of that spirit. So each song I knew had to have imagery to go with it,
Right.
because we were still in the lockdown in February, March of 21. What I invented, I had a shed in my mum's back garden where I was staying with her and looking after her during the pandemic, and the
Mm.
shed had all my gear anyway, but it had a lot of green screen in it, so I could film myself. Well, I did live streams, but I created very exotic looking locations, and basically I created a a kind of a fake stadium size stage where although it was just me in a shed in the corner behind a green screen, I shrunk myself down and put myself in
Right.
front of this big screen and some lighting trusses and equipment to make it look like you were looking at a big stage. And,
Nice.
and I put the videos that I created to go with the songs on the screen behind me, and then I streamed them live. And then I looked back at them and went, oh yeah, that works. Or I could change that a bit. Basically, I did all of the pre-production for the live show as I was recording the album by trialing it online. It was a strange concept, but we all had the time right then.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose you could get feedback as well at the
Yeah.
same time, couldn't you? So that you could see what other people thought of it
Yes,
as
exactly.
well. But no, I like that. I like that you did it all yourself. There's sort of like too many people that are happy for someone else to be creative for
Right.
them. So I like the fact that you did it yourself. You've done it all
Thank you.
basically,
Well,
and I like that. That I like the creativity of that.
I,
That's good.
I am very hands-on, and I like to do the things I can do. But in answer to your question about the gigs, so May 21 was when we were first able to start doing live performances again, although
Oh,
socially distanced, right? So I started doing a show every month at a venue called the Bedford in Balham, where I kind of had built the lighting show to go with it. And so for a year, I was just doing a show every month, and every month it was full. People were. I had some people. I actually have had some people been to every single London show I've done since I started.
oh,
Um,
that's excellent.
it's
Love that.
that kind of Rocky Horror Picture thing where people get very involved in the film and in the play and the musical rather,
Yeah.
and they invite people down and they want to share that. It's very much word of mouth. Everyone who sees it becomes a little ambassador for the show and wants to help me take it to a bigger audience. So I actually have been doing this in London for 2 years, and like all things, right, as it progresses, it gets a bit more polished in places. I edit a few things, I stretch a few things, I add a little bit of extra video. In fact, as we're talking now, because 2.5 years later, AI has given us incredible visual tools,
Mhm.
I'm redesigning some of the videos using the kind of technology wasn't available 2 years ago. And I've got a production set up in a studio in London, which I'm going to later today to finish adding the videos to the show, run everything through, make sure it works before packing everything down. So yes,
Wow.
lots of gigs been happening.
Fantastic. And you have a tour next year as well, I
I
heard.
do. And that the great thing that I've discovered is that this show that started in one place in London and was quite complex. It would take me 5 hours to set everything up because it's
Oh,
lots of
wow.
little bits, right? And it's a one-man show, so it's only me doing it all. Um,
Mhm.
I thought I can never take this on the road; it's too complicated. But then over the years, I've worked out different ways to vary how I present the show without losing any of the creative impact, but
Oh, right.
more simple to transport. So I've done a couple of little tester gigs outside of London, and on October the 29th this year, I'm in Guildford at the Electric Theatre for my first big show outside of London. And then, as you quite rightly say, beginning of next year, tour start. I'm opening for Steve Harris's band British Lion. So
Oh, wow.
from Maiden, and he's been a big supporter of the album. He was very involved on long distance conversations as I was producing it, and he was giving me his feedback and his thoughts. He's been to see the show twice and really generously invited me to be the opening act for the band and take me around the country. So we're gone for about 3 weeks in January, doing 18 shows around the country.
Oh, wow,
Uh,
18. Wow. Don't get
yes,
much break, do you?
no, we're all on the tour bus together. Then I've got about 5 days off, and then I start my own headline tour running through February up to the beginning of March.
Fantastic. You're gonna be super busy at the beginning of next year then, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Normally it's a little bit of a quiet start to a year, but no, I'm going to be straight in with a bang.
So have a rest at Christmas, rest up as much as possible,
Absolutely, Suzy.
and then just get straight into it. That's fantastic. Well, I hope that all goes really well. I mean, obviously Steve Harris, he with his band, he's very theatrical, aren't they, with their stage sets and everything. So he's the same as you, putting on a good show, making it worthwhile and everything like that. It's good. It's two very creative people getting together. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, um, as you might know, I was originally an Iron Maiden in '77 when I first left school and came to London. So what we talked about then, me and Steve, before the band before Iron Maiden were famous, was
Mhm.
exactly this. How do we do the big show and make it like a theatrical, spectacular? Of course, they went and did it, and have been doing it very successfully ever since. I saw the shows at the O2 last week, not last week, last month in July. There were 2 nights sold out. Astonishing show. It's almost the best show I've ever seen them do, and I've seen pretty much all the tours. So I'm still channeling that at a much smaller, more humble level, but it's also a more intimate experience, right? So
Mhm.
one day it will get to the O2, but for the time being, I'm making the most of the fact that these are really shows where everybody can see exactly what I'm doing, and there's no big screens of me from a distance. Everyone's in the same space.
Yeah, I like it when bands get to that sort of like big stadium sort of venues and things. So I think that they've worked hard to get there and everything like that. But I still like the little gigs,
Yeah. Well,
the more
so does
intimate ones.
Yes, so does Steve. That's why he has this band, British Lion. They're an amazing
Mhm.
band. And they've just been doing clubs for the last 10 years because he loves playing in clubs and small theatres and venues.
Yeah,
He loves to stay in touch with people.
yeah, it's a little more like intimate for the fans as well, isn't it? Instead of obviously if they're in a big stadium or something, they're going to feel miles away
Yeah,
on the stage and things. But a nice little gig, you're right there in front of them. A little bit of a personal touch. I really like that.
absolutely.
Yes, it's all good. Um, so you're prepping, I suppose, for that as well. You've got your gig in Guildford, but
Yes.
then you're going to be prepping for your tours.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when I do my headline tour, I will have still plenty of time to set up because it will be the full thing, an hour and 45 minutes plus encores, and it's
Hmm.
a lot of extra stuff. With British Lion, it will be the opening act, so I have to cut it right back and do it in a slightly different way because there may be times when there's no sound check, right? I've been in this business a long time. Few delays happen, and suddenly they're opening the
Yeah.
doors. It's right, okay, Tony, get your stuff on stage now, and it'll be ah. But
Yeah,
I'm
like
planning
today
for
with me, if you've got a traffic jam or something like that, and something's happened and
that.
you can't get to the venue in time, it's a rush to get everything on.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. See, I'm prepared for every eventuality.
Good, good. At least you're organised. So obviously, where it's going to be for like two very different sets. Obviously, with Steve, and then with yourself. How have you worked out what you're going to be playing when you support Steve, or are you still
Yeah.
sort of like working that out?
No, I've got it worked. I'm someone who does like to plan ahead. I live in the moment. I'm very spontaneous, but I also, as you were saying about prepping, right? I am always as prepared as I can be for any eventuality to be
Hmm.
spontaneous, right? So my shows, said it's about an hour and 40 or an hour and 45 minutes.
Hmm.
I'm having to cut it down to about 45 minutes, 50, taking nearly an hour out of the show.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
a lot. There's a lot.
so I'm just trying, I've had to work hard to pick the songs that will represent the spirit of the record and the whole narrative of the show, while
Hmm.
still being quite kind of punchy and trying to get as much done in 45 minutes with a little bit of talking. I don't talk much in the songs anyway, but
Oh,
there's a
okay.
few things I need to talk about just to set the scene so everybody understands why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course, because you still want them to feel the same sort of vibe and everything that they would if it was the full hour and 45
Yes,
minutes. But no, I'm sure you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You've got plenty of time to work it all out.
absolutely. Yes, Susie.
Excellent. And because your album that's coming out is called Awake,
Yes.
isn't it? How did you come up with the name?
Well, basically Awake was the first track that I wrote. It began just as a guitar riff. It was just like 4 notes. um I've got my acoustic guitar here. Just
Oh,
began.
I get a bit of a performance as well.
Yes, began as 4 notes. It went, so those 4 notes kind of set the mood, and then I kind of repeated them. That was the initial riff, and I worked on it for about a couple of hours, created a little recording I sent to friends who all said, oh, this is really cool, it's quite mysterious, could be in a movie. And I was encouraged, so kept on going. At 4 minutes, more or less, I thought, maybe I should sing something now. You know, most people have got their chorus in by 40 seconds, but I'm just having fun playing the guitar and setting a mood. Anyway, it was a mixture of a stream of consciousness, just singing the first things that were coming out. But I understood as a concept album, I wanted to talk about stuff, right? And part of what I wanted to talk about was the fact that we were in the middle of a lockdown, and just that I wanted us to be awake to love, awake to stuff, right? Because we get very used to living a life where we just trot along and don't think too much about what else is going on. And suddenly we were thrust into this environment where nothing was normal anymore. No. And it was, you know, for many people it was scary, and for many people it was depressing, and for many people it was very debilitating. For some people like me, it was quite creative, right? To have everything else I'm doing turned off, so all I could do was look after my mum and be creative, and it allowed me to kind of think about stuff. And so the idea is like, let's be awake to what's happening in the world, be awake to what's happening in our lives, and be awake to love, because we are in a very divisive and kind of fractured world at the moment. And love and being loving and caring and thoughtful, and not just being unaware of what's going on, it puts us at a disadvantage. We need to try and, you know, be good, kind, and loving. Right? So that's the underlying message, right? Some of it's reflecting the things that we all went through, the weird times. Some of it's looking at the songs are really about my life, how the 13-year-old Tony wanted to do what I'm doing now and never did it until now, right? And if there hadn't been a lockdown, maybe I never would have done it. It's a weird the sliding doors thing, right? You know, there's a whole alternate reality where I'm not doing any of this, right? So but the one big message also in it is about a sense of community and unity. And my mum, who had developed dementia just before the lockdown, so I'd already moved in to look after her and become her primary carer. And there's some of that journey in this album as well. So even though it's a really personal album, like I say, I've discovered every time I play it, people have a great experience of the things I'm talking about. Sometimes it's close family members with dementia or Alzheimer's, or that or friends have got them and they've been through, they know what I'm talking about. And these things don't often get talked about or sung about, or you know, in the focus of a conversation that is a positive conversation. So my mum's in the show. There's lots of video of her and her talking. She loved the show. She saw me creating it. She was bedridden, but all my shows I was streaming and coming in and making sure she was watching YouTube so she could see it. And although I sadly lost her last year, she even though through the dementia, she knew all the words to every song. You know, music, it has this power, right, to really touch us at a fundamental level.
Oh, I very much agree. Music helps people relate to each other and spread a message. It's a lot of well, since lockdown, I have noticed a lot of people have said, including myself, that going to a gig is like going to a safe place.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's something where you don't have to think about the outside world for a little while. You've got, you know, hopefully an amazing band on stage. And you can just lose yourself for an hour or two.
Right.
And the songs are so relatable, and that's the important thing about music. It can bring people together. And having songs, I suppose there's ones that have kind of touched on dementia or something like that, but to have a show where it's included because it was such a big part of your life, I think that's going to speak to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely. I like that. I like that you've included her. I'm sure she would love that she's in it.
Absolutely. And you know, I know it's a cliche, but I do feel because of that, she's follows me all the time, and every time I do the show, which is a lot, right? She's there. I look up at the screen, and she's always there with me on this journey.
Oh, and that's lovely. I like that. That makes it special then, not just for everyone else, but for you as well. I love that. And yeah, I hopefully I'll get to see you next year so that I
Yes.
can experience it. That would be very cool, so that I can see what it's all about.
Well,
Um,
when I finally announce all the tour dates, you can see which is the nearest to you and let me know.
oh, of course, yeah, I'm sure Glenn will let me know, and we can have a look. Most definitely, be lovely. Okay, so I've run out of my questions. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about to go in the interview?
Um, they're not really. I think
A lot.
we would. What's nice is that we've kind of had a conversation about probably areas of what I've been doing that wouldn't normally happen in another conversation, because it's your personality asking the questions and leading it in another direction, which has been great. I just say that this is my passion. This is what I've waited in a bizarre way all my life to do. I wouldn't have been able to have done this 10 years ago. I don't think I certainly wasn't ready for it technically in some areas, but I don't think I had the things to say that I have now in this show. And the weird thing is, like I said, the 13-year-old Tony dreamed of doing this and never did it. And now I'm doing it. Everybody else is coming on board. There's a certain purity of a certain continuity of action between the young me and the older me that
Mhm.
has created something that people see. This is vulnerable. It's real. I'm not trying to scam anyone. I'm not trying to
Of
well,
course.
scam's not the right word, but I'm not trying to. It's not fake, right? I'm not just
Yeah.
making stuff up because I think it'll be successful. I'm doing the thing that I love the most and speaking and singing the things that I want to say and share. And
Mhm.
because of that, I think there's a sense from the audiences that honesty is very touching, and it's about a community. Every time I do the show, the community grows. So I would just like to say, everybody, look out for the album in 2024. If you can come and see a show, I'd love you to come and support and be a part of the journey. I will promise to give you the best show of my life every night that I do it.
That's
Um,
brilliant.
and yeah, if anybody wants to find out more, I'm quite easy to find. All the
Oh
awake.
yeah, I'll make sure I put all your links in the description. Don't you worry. They
Yeah.
won't have trouble finding you.
All right, Suzy. Thank you
Excellent.
so much.
Thank you so much.